Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasodhanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yasodhanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yasodhanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yasodhanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Girari Radha Girari Radhe. Jaya Radha Girari Radha Girari Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jam Vishpad Paramhamsa Prabhupada Sutta Sata Shishimadesi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jam Vishpad Paramhamsa Prabhupada Sutta Sata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Nantikoti Vaishnavrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jivigopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhugan ke Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindi ke Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopikupinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ke Shri Vrindavan Dham ke Navadvip Mayapur Dham ke, Jagannath Puri Dham ke, Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam ke, Samaveda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ke, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru. Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhantale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaur Vani Vijayana Vishesha Sunadi Vischadistane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're getting to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 29, talks between Narada Muni and King Prachina Barhi, text 69. Satvaika Nishte Manasi Satvaika Nishte Manasi Bhagavat Parshva Vartani Bhagavat Parshva Vartani Tamash Chandramashivadam Tamash Chandramashivadam. It's a big long word. Uparajya Avabhasate Uparajya Avabhasate Satvaika Nishte Manasi Bhagavat Parshavartani Tamaschandra Mashivedam Uparaj Javabhashate Satvaika Nishte Manasi Bhagavat Parshavartani Tamaschandra Mashivedam Uparajhavabhasate Satvaika Nishte Manasi Bhagavat Parshavartani Tamaschandra Mashivedam Javabhasate Satvaika Nishte Manasi Bhagavat Parshvavartani Chandravisi Vedam Satvaika Nishte Manasi Bhagavat Parshvavartani Tamaschandravasi Vedam Uparajhavabhasate Satvaika Nishte Manasi Bhagavat Parshvavartani Tamaschandravasi Vedam Uparajhavabhasate Sattva Ekanishte in full Krishna consciousness. Manasi in a mind. Bhagavat with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parshvavartani being constantly associated. Tamaha the dark planet. Chandramasi in the moon. Iva like. Idam this. Cosmic manifestation. Uparaja, being connected. Avabhasate, becomes manifest. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna consciousness means, y'all ears, this is what it means. Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. So how Krishna conscious do you feel after hearing that? Just a question. Such observation is not always possible. Well, we qualify in that way. But it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. Please repeat. Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It's been explained in the previous verse that all desires on the mental platform become visible one after another. The mind of the living entity continues to exist in various gross bodies. According to one's desires for sense gratification, the mind records different thoughts. In the mind, these appear together in different combinations. Therefore, these images sometimes appear as things never seen or never heard before. It's been explained in the previous verse that all desires on the mental platform become visible one after another. Sometimes, however, by the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the whole stockpile can be visible all at one time. In Brahma Samhita 554 it is said, Karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. When a person is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, his stockpile of material desires is minimized. Indeed, the desires no longer fructify in the form of gross bodies. Indeed, the stockpile of desires become visible on the mental platform by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, the darkness occurring before the full moon, the lunar eclipse, can be explained as being another planet known as Rahu. According to Vedic astronomy, the Rahu planet, which is not visible, is accepted. Sometimes the Rahu planet is visible in the presence of full moonlight. It then appears that this Rahu planet exists somewhere near the orbit of the moon. The failure of modern man excursionists, did I say? Excuse me, not men. The failure of modern moon excursionists may be due to the Rahu planet. In other words, those who are supposed to be going to the moon may actually be going to this invisible planet, Rahu. Actually, they're not going to the moon, but to the planet Rahu. And after reaching this planet, they come back. Apart from this discussion, the point is that a living entity has immense and unlimited desires for material enjoyment, and he has to transmigrate from one gross body to another until these desires are exhausted. No living entity is free from the cycle of birth and death unless he takes to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, in this verse it's clearly stated, Sattvaika Nishte, that when one is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in one stroke, he's freed of past and future mental desires. Then by the grace of the Supreme Lord, everything becomes simultaneously manifest within the mind. In this regard, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur cites the example of Mother Yasoda's seeing the whole cosmic manifestation within the mouth of Lord Krishna. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Mother Yasoda saw all the universes and planets within the mouth of Krishna. Similarly, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, A Krishna-conscious person can see all his dormant desires at one time and finish all his future transmigrations. This facility is especially given to the devotee to make his path clear for returning home back to Godhead. Why we see things not experienced in this life is explained herein. That which we see is the future expression of gross body, or is already stocked in our mental stockpile. Because a Krishna-conscious person does not have to accept a future gross body, his recorded desires are fulfilled in a dream. We therefore sometimes find things in a dream never experienced in our present life. Could we pray for mercy, please? Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Kanana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Won't it be nice? I'm saying it that way instead of wouldn't it be nice? In one stroke, one can become Krishna conscious. In one moment. A devotee in Australia asked Srila Prabhupada, is it possible to become Krishna conscious in this very lifetime? Prabhupada said, you're not reading our books. In one moment, one can become Krishna conscious. Mother Yasoda is mentioned in the past, in the purport, the Damodar Leela of 2 fingers short for every rope she added to the existing rope trying to bind Krishna, stood for the mercy of Krishna and the sincere, focused endeavor of the devotee. Both things are required, generally speaking. One time, Ramanujacharya was walking by a kund, and he had some Mahaprasadam, and he threw it out into the pond. And several fish went up immediately and took the Mahaprasadam. And then all the disciples with him saw those fish take on 4-armed forms and spiritual bodies and ascend to the Vaikuntha. They said, how's that possible? I'm taking Mahaprasadam all the time. It's possible. Now one might ask, did the fish have the one finger of their sincere, focused desire to go back to Godhead? I don't think so. But by the causeless mercy of Guru and Krishna, anything and everything is possible, even becoming fully Krishna conscious. Sattvaika Nishte. We should hold out hope like that. Our life should be based upon that hope. That despite my river of disqualifications, I hadn't heard that and I really appreciated it. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saying, The river of disqualification separating us from Krishna, Krishna's service over on the other side of the riverbank. I'm repeating it to remember it. Because of our river of unlimited disqualifications, we might think, what's the hope? What chance do we have? But all those who are actually sattvika, nishthe, that's how they feel. They don't have any hope. They're so infinitesimal. They're so offensive. They're so fallen. Why would Krishna accept me and my service that I attempt to render to him? No good reason. And that is the definition of mercy. There is no good reason. It's just the kindness of he who bestows it upon the recipient. And Krishna is an ocean of mercy. To say so is to belittle his position of mercy, his quality of mercy. Oceans, oceans, unlimited. But to get some idea, we stand on the beach and we look out, we can't see the end of the ocean. We're hardly seeing anything. How many miles out can we see? What's the eye get to see out in the horizon? 20 miles? 40 miles? What would you say? Anybody got an educated 12 miles? It's about what you're... We're happy the Prabhu didn't have a microphone. We don't know how far it is. And that's our position. We don't know. What do we know? Only what Guru tells us. We can rely on him. And even that, really, completely, wholly, can be said in relationship to the degree he repeats the words of Krishna, found in Shastra, coming from the core of his heart in loving service to the Lord and his spiritual masters. Just like this, it's interesting, the analogies given by Narada about Rahu. You don't see Rahu, it's invisible. Vedic astronomy, it's considered a planet. Notice it said astronomy, the map of the universe, not astrology, the ways in which the planets influence our lives, but astronomy. It's accepted as a planet, but it's invisible. But on some full moon nights, you can see it. It's called an eclipse, a lunar eclipse. So Krishna is compared to the full moonlight, and Rahu is compared to our unlimited, did you catch that word? Unlimited stockpile of material desires. That's kind of disparaging. Criminy. I did. Is that proper use of the word? What's disparage mean? It's discouraging. Thank you, Dravida. Disparaging means to insult. Discouraging. Could be discouraging. I mean, on our own merit, certainly. Puts us back in the hopeless category. But the potency of the full moon, the full sun of Krishna, can burn that giant Meru mountain of sinful reactions, sinful desires, just as if it was a giant cotton ball. Put a flame to it and boom, instantly gone. The chanting, the hearing, the remembering of the pure absolute name of Krishna can do that. One name. The potency of Krishna, the potency of worship of Krishna is beyond any power of this material world. What do they consider the most powerful thing in this world? Nitrogen bombs? Pretty powerful stuff. The, what did they call it? The Brahmastra puts to shame the nuclear bombs. It's dealing on the platform of the subtle laws of material nature, not the gross way in which they've managed to split apart atoms or whatever it is. I don't know. Prabhupada describes it as demoniac activity meant to destroy the world. But anyway, Rahu, and the original point was we hear Guru, we accept what Guru says in accordance with Scripture. Anything else, one has to, as a mature disciple, consider. Just like this paragraph. Prabhupada said they didn't go to the moon. First time they had the moon landing, but let's turn on the TV. The newspaper article came out that, let's read the newspaper. What's it say? Front page, landed on the moon. I said, keep going. We got to about page 10, and it talked about an increase in the money to be invested in the space program is going to be unleashed. They're going to allocate huge amount of funds in this space program. Prabhupada goes, that's the real story right there. This is what the moon landing's about. Do you believe him? Prabhupada teased the devotees had a hard time with it. We're all programmed. I hate to say it. I mean, this COVID experience for me has been almost like an LSD trip. Yes, I did experience LSD as an individual. It certainly opened up my concepts, my thoughts about sense perceptions and mental thoughts. Not recommended. It's all mundane. But this material world is inconceivable. It's an energy of Krishna. We're a tiny little infinitesimal spark of Krishna's Tatastha Shakti. Even though more powerful than that Shakti, being connected with Krishna, when we're disconnected by our misuse of independence, she easily overwhelms us. It's inconceivable for this verse to say one sees the material cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Unless Krishna gives one the eyes to see, that's impossible for the finite living entity. 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita told you can't see that, but I'll give you divine eyes to see. See everything you want in this manifestation. Does that mean that there were things beyond what he wanted that he didn't see? That's a thought for consideration. Modern science and quantum physics, they say the universe reciprocates with the desire, what to speak of the behavior, but even the desire of the living entity observing it. Is it possible that there was more to see than Arjuna saw? I put forward, I bet there was. Krishna knows everything. The jiva, how is it possible? You can only fit so much water into this cup. We're part and parcel. We're not the whole. So, I was going to make the point that basically everything we've been taught, and this is how it relates to the LSD experiment, I consider it to be a lie. From my childhood, I didn't go to kindergarten, I went to first grade. It was all meant to mold me into being a submissive, productive worker of society. Industry used to be the big thing. Go to line up, go get permission to go to the bathroom, sit down, just become very regimented. That's a good thing, but become submissive, become compliant, and accept whatever they pour into our ears. And according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said it was a slaughterhouse. Those who have seen pictures that PETA puts out of what a slaughterhouse is actually like will never touch meat again if they have any sensitivity. Horrible, horrible. And education is like that. It's a slaughterhouse. It destroys the finer sentiments, the desire to reawaken your self-identity and purpose. Our purpose is not to serve the masters that be, it's meant to serve Krishna. So it's all been a lie, in one way or another, to greater or lesser degrees. And Srila Prabhupada was basing his understanding on the moon. How could you go to the moon? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Sun, moon, Mars, etc. He gave that logic. When translating 5th canto, it's described like that in the Bhagavatam. And so he said, some statements, they didn't go. That's what he says in this purport. And other statements, he said, so even if they did go, conceding, maybe they went. Maybe they went. But if they did go to the moon planet, they certainly didn't go to the celestial realm of the kingdom of Chandra. What did they see? They saw desert, rocks, cold, barren. That's not Chandraloka. That's not the moon described in Srimad Bhagavatam. I believe that. Dravida Prabhu said that's Arizona. But you will be interested to hear that in 1976 in Chandigarh, he said, in regards to the scientists' opinion of the moon, I will leave that to our scientists, our 3 scientists, who were Srup Damodar, Sadaputta, and Madhava, Das Brahmacharis. I will leave it to them. As far as my own words or thoughts go, I have nothing to say. How interesting is that? It's a concession. It's not that Prabhupada knew everything. He just certainly knew they didn't go to Chandraloka. What did Sadaputta come up with? This is interesting. One of my godbrothers yesterday told me Sadaputta is the only devotee he knows of that Srila Prabhupada called a Mahatma among his disciples. That's a nice accolade. That's a nice compliment given by a statement of appreciation by Srila Prabhupada. He certainly was a Mahatma. So he describes the ecliptic. I had to look it up, the ecliptic. Evidently the universe is somewhat tilted. Certainly the axis of the earth is tilted, North Pole, South Pole. It's not directly like this. It's like this. And there's this ecliptic, where it's a long extended course of rotation of the earth around the sun. And then there's the moon. Modern science and many Puranas describe it that it's much closer to the earth than the sun. Several Puranas describe it that way. And it's rotating around the earth. And then in that ecliptic, when you get a certain point, what do modern scientists say about the lunar eclipse, for example? They say you got the shadow of the earth in between the sun and the moon, and therefore it comes up. In Vedic astronomy, they are saying it's Rahu. I believe in Rahu. I believe the planet's there. I think it's possible they went to Rahu because that planet Rahu is close to the moon. Sadaputta Prabhu said that the ecliptic is there, that it's like this, but when you look at it from on high, like the demigod's description of the layout of the universe in Bhumandala, they put it on a flat surface, like this. So in that flat surface, when you're looking from above on down, then it appears as if the sun is closer to the earth than the moon, as Srila Prabhupada describes. Everything's a matter of perspective. And everything really is inconceivable. And Srila Prabhupada, I was right there in Vrindavan when he was admitting, I need help with this 5th canto. He asked one Prem Yogi Swami, he gave him initiation, who was supposedly had darshan of the universal form. He asked for his assistance. Ultimately, I don't think the geography of the universe will matter one iota on our ability to go back home, back to Godhead. It's not the main point of the purport. But I was just sharing some of this with you to show you that Krishna consciousness in reality, it's vast. It's beyond us. Where are we safe? How are we safe in trying to share knowledge with others and not be a cheater? By repeating the words of the spiritual master. not adding anything or subtracting anything. That doesn't simply mean that we become parrots and we can't see everything through the Bhagavatam and the teachings of our spiritual master. If we do that, then we're able to understand to some degree whether an authority outside of Krishna consciousness is enlightening us or cheating us. But even then, it ultimately comes down to faith, doesn't it? Actually, everything comes down to faith. And that's the foundation of Krishna consciousness. If you come to the Sattvaika Nishthe, my full faith is in the words of my spiritual master in Bhagavatam and the association of pure Vaishnavas. That's what it takes to become a worthy recipient of the mercy of Guru and Krishna. We're talking here about the entire stockpile of desires, not coming one after another. I can't remember what I dreamed last night. Not two nights ago I had a dream with Vaisheshika Prabhu in it. And getting a room in a hotel. We were on the parikrama, and it would have been like, Jagannath Puri, it seemed. And anyway, it was a combination of experiences I've had and desire to also have his company again, hopefully sooner than later. But these desires come up one after another, and it's such a wonderful thing for a devotee, even for a sadhaka bhakta, who is engaged in bhakti seriously enough that he's in the stage of an artha nivritti. If the dirt's being cleansed away and you're progressively taking advantage of the process as given with the desire to achieve what its purpose is, then desire, you don't have to take future bodies, future births. Those desires can be experienced in dream. And sometimes we have some pretty wild dreams. But for a pure devotee, the unalloyed devotee, and the upper realms of bhakti, the upper rungs of bhakti, they get to see the stockpile all at once, the entirety of it. And that can only take place by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The only personal experience that I have, story to repeat, is Gaur Govinda Maharaj taking sannyas from Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. I've told this story before. But can you imagine, this is a pure Vaishnava from birth, born in a Vaishnava family, no frivolity, all the symptoms are there of like a Parikshit Maharaj or what have you. Childhood, always absorbed in service to Gopal Ju and Kirtan, and study of scripture, etc., etc. Teacher for a profession, had 7 children, passed semen 7 times in his life. He's all Krishna conscious. But when he took sannyas from Srila Prabhupada, he went and bowed down before the deities, putting his danda, touching it like they do, and then paying full prostrated obeisances, saying his prayers, and then starting to get up, and all of a sudden being overwhelmed with an incredible tsunami wave of lust. All the Matajis are there, etc., and just becoming, what is this? This is a man who was not lusty. This is a man who had conquered his lust in service to Krishna. He's overwhelmed. What did he do? Immediately stayed down in the Vrajaraj, the dust of Vrindavan, at the feet of the deities and his spiritual master, and he prayed, as he has encouraged all of us, begging, please remove it. I'm not getting up till you remove it. No matter how long it takes. That is not what I want. I want your service, unalloyed, no mixture, no cheating, no illusion. I simply want to serve Guru and Krishna. And Krishna let him see it and then took it away. This is what is ahead for all the sincere devotees at some point. This is what we should be praying for. But do we want to go back home to Godhead? I made mention of Ramanujacharya for another, because I had thought of another pastime. When the disciples saw the fish go back to Godhead, just like that, I've been taking Mahaprasad for years, every day. How come I'm not? Would you like to go back home to Godhead right now? It's a good question. Are we ready to go back home, back to Godhead right now? Could you drop everything? Could you forget everyone? Could you leave it all behind? That only you can answer. But those who said yes, he said, build a fire. Build a funeral pyre. Now jump in. I'll take you back to Godhead immediately, right now. And memory serves me that there was 1 or 2 disciples that took advantage of the offer. That's faith. That's love. In your spiritual master, in the process of worshiping and serving Krishna. That's what we have to develop, and that's possible with Guru. If you cultivate the proper, you follow the instructions and simultaneously work upon the consciousness, the attitudes. View the desires when they pop up. Are you comfortable with it? It's like I like to play these kartos. I play them every day. I don't play the other ones. I like these. I'm attached to these. Well, material desires are like that. We're attached to things, emotions, activities. But are they all simply for the pleasure of Krishna? We're supposed to come to that point. I remember the first time I broke through the barrier of realizing not everything I wanted was what Krishna wanted. It was a shock. It really was. Somewhat of a young devotee, but oh my God. I mean, I suppose it's the vestiges, the remnants of, thinking I am God. Well, no, I'm not God. I'm a devotee. But if you're thinking everything I want, I'm the one who knows exactly how it's supposed to be. If I don't put my mark on it, my standard on it, then that's not accepted by Prabhupada. I know. It's an awful big, impression of oneself. We should be cultivating going the opposite direction. What do I know? I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. Sounds kind of redundant and silly, but it's a fact. We know only as much as our spiritual master has revealed to us, and anything else is on the intellectual platform at best, if not the mental platform. And what good is that? It's that those platforms bring us back again and again and again in the cycle of birth and death. If we become so dedicated to pleasing the spiritual master, preaching is the essence. You want to make a mark? You want to become noticed by the spiritual master and the Lord in the heart? Share the nectar you've been given. Whatever degree, whatever amount we've been given, share it. Pray for the opportunity to share it. With that kind of mood, more and more mercy will be given. More and more gratitude will be accumulated by the spiritual master and the Lord. Every instruction given by the spiritual master has the potency to follow the instruction. That's a statement by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And I've certainly heard it from many devotees, but I heard Janani Prabhu last night give reference to Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur saying it. That's the potency of bhakti. It has the potency of Krishna himself. If we want to become a bhakta, a devotee, engage in devotional service, no other activity will destroy desires and the reactions of those desires. No other process. Not karma. That's how Shukadev tested his disciple. Oh, how do you become free from the sinful reactions forcing you to go to hell? Oh, well, engage in prayaschitta. Manu Samhita, Dharma Shastras, they'll tell you what pious deeds to counteract them. He goes, I'm not going to fall for that. I know that's baloney. It's like an elephant takes bath, but then what's it do? As soon as it's out back on the shore, it takes the dust with its trunk and sprays itself, or rolls in the dust. doesn't want to be clean. Not really. And of course, Prabhupada compares that to begging the Lord, begging the priest, whatever, the religion may be, to please forgive me. But you don't really want to stop the sinful activity. It's not enough to be told, stop. It's not enough to hear from Scripture, don't do it, you'll suffer. It's not even enough to see these people going to prison for these things. You have to want it. And you don't destroy the desire within the heart, within the subtle body, simply by being told. And Gyan isn't enough. Karma isn't enough. Gyan isn't enough. Simply to give up sense gratification, give up this world, give up identification with the body, it's not enough. Because that last desire is what you're focused on. I want freedom from the miseries of this material life. The I is the noun of that sentence, not Krishna. And so that self-abnegation, that spiritual suicide of merging into the spiritual effulgence of Krishna, it's nothing but selfish. It doesn't please Krishna. Out of love, He'll fulfill that desire if that's what you want. But the soul is conscious and has desire, and always was and will be of that nature. And at some point, you'll come back out of that Brahman and take up material existence again. Only Bhakti has the ability to destroy to the root all desire, material desires, separate from service to Krishna. No other process. Krishna again and again in so many places. This verse quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the purport from the Brahma Samhita. Karmani nirnati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. In the purport, Bhaktisiddhanta translated, by the fire of ordeal, the Lord purges the evil desires and nescience of the living entity. That's His kindness. And He only does it with the unalloyed devotees, those who really, really want to surrender and serve Him. They've come to the point that there's nothing else worth having. Nothing. Within all the three worlds and beyond, nothing. The gopis are the perfect example of that fire of ordeal. When they heard the flute of Krishna entering in their ears and their heart, they knew Krishna was calling for them. And they desired so much to go serve Him. To serve Him as a paramour, as a beloved. To satisfy His senses. Some of them couldn't go. Their husbands, their fathers, their brothers stopped them, some with sticks. I'll beat you if you go. Those relatives became their worst enemies at that time. And the pain they experienced from not being able to act upon that desire to run to Krishna, to serve Krishna, was greater than the pain Lord Shiva felt in swallowing an ocean of poison. It was greater than the devastating fire at the bottom of the universe. Universal devastational fires. Greater than that. And that pain purified all their sinful reactions. Completely. And they prayed, if I can't come to you now, if I can't come to you in this life, please, please, in some future life, let me come to you. And with that type of motive, no matter how long it takes, I'm willing to surrender, to wait, to show my seriousness of intent. And of course, Krishna reciprocated, and He appeared within their hearts. And they embraced each other. And the ecstasy that they experienced, the joy they experienced, put to shame any and all the sensual pleasures of all the three worlds put together. put to shame that ecstasy of entering into the Brahman. No comparison whatsoever. And that purified him of all pious reactions. In Baladev Vidyabhushana's commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Govinda Bhasha, he says that if the pure devotees, upon leaving this world, have any tinge, sometimes the example is given, if you find an empty bottle on the beach, and it was a wine bottle or an alcohol bottle, even if you clean it, wash it out, even use soap, you smell it, you're going to smell that alcohol. There's just a residue on the glass. How do you get rid of it? It's like stained in there. So if a pure devotee has a residue of some pious or impious karma, Baladev Vidyabhushana explains that the Lord within the heart kindly gives all his sinful reactions to those who have mistreated the devotee. And those who are dear to him, he gives them all the pious credits. And this way the Lord destroys to nil. Not almost to nil, to nil. And one gets to enter into the eternal Leela of the Lord. For most of us, we don't achieve prema in this body, and people think, well, you got to have prema to go back to Godhead. But Gokula Vrindavan is where one can be born in a family of the pure, loving devotees of Krishna. And their association, then one can become free of the scent of whatever last tinge of desire reaction may be there. And that's when the prema reawakens, and it's the perfection of life. Then eternally one will be allowed to reciprocate lovingly with Krishna to your heart's content. So this process should be taken seriously. We should understand what value it has. It's invaluable. The very least we can give in exchange for it is our life to our spiritual masters, life after life if need be. Eternally is our aspiration. May I serve the Lord under you, under your guidance eternally. The transcendental mystery of the transparent via medium of the spiritual master. So, these are some thoughts on this verse. I'll read it again. Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. Anybody like to add any contribution or have any questions or challenges?
Thank you for a very enlightening class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your association.
I remember when I first read this back in 1974, when I was proofreading it before it was printed. And this idea, and this whole statement that Prabhupada has in the purport of that sometimes, however, by the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the whole stockpile can be visible all at one time. And I think Prabhupada's using, I may be wrong about this, but I think he's using the word stockpile to mean what we commonly call subconscious mind. It's always a reservoir of things. And
versus what other concept in your mind?
No, I'm saying that
you think he means our subconscious.
Yeah,
we have so many desires we're not conscious of, but they're there.
They're there. That's the point. That's what. Yeah. Be that as it may, it's. So
I would concur with that.
Yeah. So that what came to mind when I read that is how there's a certain, I don't want to call it defense mechanism, but the mind, you don't access those things. Because if you did, I mean, imagine just suddenly all your memories of all those deaths and all those births, I mean, you'd go immediately insane. You couldn't handle it. It would be the most massive case of PTSD you could imagine. So, sometimes by the supreme will, in other words, when one is so advanced spiritually that he can distance himself and realize, well, that's not me. In other words, I don't have to deal with that. Then it becomes possible to access those things. And as you so graphically explained, I never heard that from about Gaur Govinda Maharaj, about that whole experience. And that one has to be extremely strong spiritually in his spiritual identity to be able to see those and those unfulfilled desires and all of that stuff, and then reject them and have them burned. And it's nirdahati kintuja bhakti bhajan. So I think that's it's a but as you so graphically explained, this is necessary because those desires, whether we access them or not, are what's tying us to this world. The knots in the heart, as it's described sometimes. So it's a formidable understanding, and it's a sobering understanding. How to really get to the point of being wanting that much to go back to Godhead that you're willing to undergo the. And I reference this reference in the Brahma Samhita purport that you gave, the fire of ordeal. To really be willing to undertake that. And I remember, thank you for referencing that commentary by Vishwanath Chakrabarti about the gopis, the different gopis in the beginning of the Rasa dance who couldn't go to see Krishna, and how their karma, good and bad, was all burned to get. It's very sobering and very enlightening and enlivening.
Thank you for contributing. Yeah, the note of optimism is that we're here right now. We got X amount of spots on our leopard skin. There's no changing that. But as the desire or desires manifest, how we deal with it, we can deal with that. Like stupid desires come up. You just like, who gave the example? Was it you, Vijay? Lord Brahma casting off those desires as subtle bodies. You just spit at the worst of them, and you just pray for mercy. I asked what's the most powerful energy of this world, and we appropriately heard nuclear, etc. But the Maha Mantra is the most powerful thing accessible in this world. And according to Vijay, he's quoting Srila Prabhupada, the Panchatattva Maha Mantra is even more powerful. That it breaks through the 7 layers of this universal shell. Gets us the billions of miles from here to those shells, and then all the, 10 times each layer, bigger, 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 bigger. And then the vast expanse of the spiritual world, and it takes us to the lotus feet of Krishna, the topmost spiritual planet. What potency, what power that we're being given. It's like, sometimes I feel like I'm a monkey. What do I know about this thing? That's the process. But it's so beautiful because it's given to us by Lord Chaitanya that you don't have to know. Just do it. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Begging for the service, and it'll be given. The Lord will take care of everything else. Guru and the Lord will take care of everything else. Or the little kid holding the hand, right? That the example? What do I have to worry about? I'm with Dad. Fearless. That's the faith. That's Krishna consciousness. This is my Dad. That's the pride. Krishna, Prabhupada, my Vaishnav Sangha. I'm proud of them. This is my Dad, my Guru, my Sangha. I'm so fortunate. So anyway, Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
If you allow me.
I feel a poem coming.
So, this poem, anyway, it's attached to a picture, to a painting, which many of us have seen. Krishna in the forest. There's a little bird, I call it a dove, on his hand, and there's a deer there, and there's a cow.
It's an old Indian classic that we
read that. The sweetness of Sri Krishna's form beguiles. Still sweeter is his face, like autumn moon. But sweeter than the sweetest is his smile, whose luscious beauty makes the gopis swoon. Govinda's beauty captivates the doves, the swans, the deer, the cows, and every tree. Indeed, in Braja, every creature loves Sri Krishna and is drowned in ecstasy. That all enchanting land is paradise, our home, where we may dwell eternally. Most welcome there are those who pay the price to learn to love Sri Krishna perfectly.
Haribo. Nitai Gaur. Srila Prabhupada ke. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ke. Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, we have a question in the YouTube.
Okay, my Prabhus can leave, but I'll gladly answer your question.
So it's from the Mahatma Devi Dasi.
Okay.
She said,
Hare Krishna Mahatma.
She said, I felt that Krishna took the last array after cancer when the surgery was done. When I wake up, I was a different person. Is that possible?
You felt bad when a throat cancer was taken away, a surgery, and you awoke a different person? Is that possible? Is that what you said, Tapas?
Yeah.
Certainly it's possible. In one moment, you can transform into a surrendered servant of the Lord. Krishna gave you a little test in the form of your cancer. I'm sure it was very frightening. Even the process for remedying the cancer, I'm sure it was very frightening, worrisome for sure, even for devotees. But it was a test. It was a snooze alarm. Wake up. I've personally seen a few of my God brothers upon leaving this world and have seen that the disease that their body was undergoing caused them to realize that there's nothing in this world, including this body, including this stupid mind, that will give me happiness, that will give me shelter, that will deliver me. Only Krishna, only the devotees, Guru, and the process of bhakti can do that. I've seen a handful of my God brothers passing through that. At that point, when everything's stripped away and Krishna shows you the bare, naked facts of this world, that would be one way of understanding, seeing the world as Krishna sees it. This place is not our home. And many a devotee in the last days, the last hours, the last minutes have realized that this is all useless and simply a source of pain. So with that kind of experience, of course, I hope that you have grown from it and you continue to build on your daily experiences. Krishna doesn't have to make them so pronounced all the time, but disease is a heavy one. Old age is a heavy one. And the final exam of leaving this body will be a heavy one for many devotees. But just stick to the process every day. Chant Hare Krishna, following the instructions of Guru, and you are being fortified, strengthened, and practiced to become where it becomes automatic reflex that at the time of greatest need, the names will dance on the tongue. Hare Krishna. I hope that's good enough, Mahatma Devi Dasi. Thank you. Anything else, Tapas?
Prabhuji, I have...
Hare Krishna, Dharni Prabhu.
Prabhu. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In your last lecture, there was some mistake on my side. I sincerely apologize for that.
Oh, your
I
mic was
not
on?
aware-
Your mic was on, you mean?
Yeah,
It's okay. If you had been aware, it would have been embarrassing, as I guess you're apologizing now, but nobody takes it seriously. That's all long gone. I hope you didn't take my strong energy as discouraging.
no.
You asked the question, what about the household life? Yeah. Hey.
It's great. By Krishna's mercy and all devotees' mercies, everything is fine.
It'll even be greater when we're allowed to enter into Krishna's village and family. That'll even be greater. Let's try to bring our little family along with us. Thank you for the apology and your listening with taking the Sangha. Thank you, Narendra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Nitai Gaur. Thank you, Tapas.